Hey there, welcome to Content Sancocho. This is your content bestie, Veronica, and I'm going to start this episode of Content Sancocho by sharing a story. This is something personal. Maybe you have gone through the same predicament as me. But have you ever felt that tightness in your chest every time you check your bank account, or that sinking fear even when the numbers aren't terrible? You start freaking out over just something as simple as checking your bank account and raising thoughts like I am not making enough money, I'm going to lose it all. They start, popping up in your head. So you spend more money just because that's how that's how you're supposed to that's why you're supposed to do. That's how you're supposed to soothe yourself, or at least that's what I do. And then you start going down the rabbit hole of evaluating, undervaluing your work. Oh my gosh, I'm struggling. You question your worth as a business owner, even as a provider. It's paralyzing. And you start wondering, where's the next client going to come from? Or why does it look so effortless for other creators, for other business owners? And I'm here struggling making money. Well, today we're going to go deeper into this issue, because if the thing holding you back financially is not just a problem that is strategic, is something that is buried deep into your subconscious. And that's what we're going to be exploring. And I'm going to be sharing some personal experiences with you, because I've been exploring this issue within myself. I'm going to um, share with you some of the research that I've done as I go through this personal journey of making more money as a creator and making more money as a business owner, and overcoming these things that may be holding me back that I'm not aware of. So we're exploring all of the hidden patterns that stop us from making bold moves, from making more money, from building the financial safety that we crave so much. This topic, as I already mentioned, is very personal to me. I'm going to be sharing some personal stories, just not to for you to feel sorry about myself, about me, but just to make you feel that you're not alone if you're going through this. And I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one that's going through this, because I've heard a lot of people questioning those things as well in our community. So I'm bringing it here, hoping that you are feeling unstuck and maybe you can start to detangle this mess. And we're going to do it together. I'm going to provide some guidance at the end of, based on the research that I have done, so we can remove this blocked um, once and for all. We don't want it. And here with me, as usual, is Stephen Davis.
Hey everyone.
He's going to be providing his words of wisdom as well.
Yes, and my unwelcomed commentary
Mhm.
when it's necessary, and who knows, maybe even an occasional cat sound, just to keep
Just to
things,
lighten the
yeah,
mood.
just to lighten the mood.
I'm not an expert in financial trauma. That's not my expertise, but I am going through the journey of healing myself when it comes to financial and money anxieties that I have, that I've always carried with me. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So let's get started. But before we get started, make sure that you share this live stream, that you share this episode with another creator who may be wanting to explore the possibilities of making more money, of making more of an impact, and to overcome whatever thing that is holding them back when it comes to the financial things. Okay. So, something that really helped me um, when there's something that I really don't like, or something that it feels icky within myself, is just to look back at my life. And that's the good thing that comes with years and with just being in your 40s, is that you get to look back at the patterns in your life, and how some of them just keep repeating and keep repeating. And when you do this, then you realize that you can pinpoint exactly the moment where certain things were started not to feel right, or um that you're in this cycle of things that you tend to repeat and you can't get out of. If you are in your 20s, you're just barely getting started, so so you don't have a track record, but you may identify those things within yourself anyway. So the first pattern that it may be an indication that you have some issues, unresolved issues with money or financial insecurity, is that first, that you undercharge as a creator or as a business owner, even when you know that that your work is valuable, that you provide a lot of value for your clients, that you are very talented, that you're very good at what you do, but you still undercharge when it comes to your work. You're afraid that people won't pay, or that you are asking for too much money. The second one is that you avoid raising your rates year after year, because asking for more money triggers guilt, shame, or fear of rejection. You still have the same prices. You don't know. You avoid that conversation with your clients. You feel very nervous that they're going to leave you and you're going to lose that client, and you keep providing this the same amount of work or even more for years, and then you don't have that conversation. You don't raise your rates. The next one is that you procrastinate on invoicing, taxes, or looking at your numbers. You don't want to feel the stress deep down. You fear what you will find. And this is something that I just went through when I recently had to go through our taxes and just find all that information. It's not very pleasant to download all of your bank statements and realize that the things are not where you want them to be, or even if they are where you want them to be as far as your progress, you still feel the anxiety. You don't feel safe, and you can't pinpoint why, because you have everything that you ever desired, and you're better than a lot of people, but still the feeling is just lingering there, the anxiety. So number 4, you work constantly but still feel like you are not doing enough. Your worth is tied to productivity. If you are not hustling, then you feel unsafe. So this is something that I do a lot. I work and work and work and work and work, and sometimes I don't even give myself a break, or I take a break when I'm exhausted, and I can't see the progress. I just can't see to be moving towards my goal fast enough. I compare it with the way I swim. I don't know how to swim. So when I go to the pool, like I really try to like show off a little bit. Like I can't do this. So I start like moving my arms and my legs, and like I do it like with all my might. And then when I stop and look, I'm in the same place where where I was when I started. So that's how it feels. Number 5 is that you panic over slow months, even when you've had great years. Your nervous system is always bracing for the rug to be pulled underneath you, and even months. And that's something that we experience a lot as we transition from having full-time jobs, from getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, is that as entrepreneurs we work by seasons, and by quarters, and some quarters are better than others, some months are better than others, depending on what you do or what you sell or the industry. So it's very common for you to have months that you hit uh, $20,000, $30,000 in a month, and then other months that they're just completely um, not good, not very good, and they're scary. So that's something that it's a pattern. You say yes to low paying clients or over deliver for free because saying no feels like a threat to your identity or safety. This is something that I've been through, that we've been through, that we have to really overcome. The fact that you sell yourself for cheap is not only affecting the quality of your work and the enthusiasm and the energy that you bring into the project, because you're already going into that project knowing that you didn't ask for what you're worth as a professional. It's also bad for your client because they are not going to get the best work out of you because it's impossible. And if they do, it's something that they're not going to appreciate because they're not paying good money for it. So that's a pattern too, that you have some issues with money. Number 7 is that you struggle to believe success is sustainable or that you deserve it. So you sabotage progress, delay launching, or hold yourself back. Number 8 is that you feel guilty about making money doing what you love. This is one reason or one pattern that I have heard a lot of people talking about, like how it feels almost like dishonest when you get paid doing or working on a project, doing something that you love and enjoy as a creator. Another one is that you obsess over hitting financial goals, but it never feels like enough because the fear isn't actually about money. It's about proving your worth or you're worthy, proving that you're worthy. So this is a very common one too, like how, and we see this in people who are overachievers who are doing really well in business, is that they never stop. They never stop, and there's never enough money that will provide that security, the feeling of security. Number 10 is that you keep saying, I am bad with money. That's another indication that there are also unresolved issues, and this, which is really a code for I've never been taught how feel safe with it. Number 11, you put the responsibility on others to provide for you and manage your finances. So it's better for other people to feel the pressure and the stress of going through managing your finances than you. So you avoided, you place the responsibility on other people. And then the last one um, is that you make others Hola, did you make others responsible for providing for you or managing your finances? This is like related to the last one as well, is other people just provide for you and they are responsible for just keeping your finances under control. If you have any of this, if any of these patterns have hit too close to home, you are not alone. These patterns are not a sign of failure by any means. They're signs of something deeper that's ready to be healed, that's ready for you to remove so you can keep moving forward with your goals, so you can remove these obstacles and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. I know that if you are um, a content creator, if you're creating whether you're creating content for your business or you want to make content creation your professional career, you are making the content, you are day in and day out doing this, but you can see can seem to be able to achieve that success or that big opportunity or that amount of money every month that is going to make you feel safe. If you are going through this right now, I want you to stay here with me because we're going to explore some very interesting things that will make you change the way you see these patterns and the way that you will also start healing about this. This is something that I just barely started. So, I'm going to invite you into my journey with me, and because we all deserve money, you know? We don't want to, we didn't sign up for this to do it for free. And we have bills to pay. We want to, I know that some of us started with making content and posting content online, and now everything that we have done has evolved into building, maybe media agencies, big businesses. We have big dreams to change the world, to help more people, to build a legacy for our kids, to show our kids what's possible, to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to us right now with AI and the video platforms and all of the tools and the social media platforms and what's going on, like how you can just buy a camera and a light and a microphone and start recording your content and build something online that it can become pretty powerful, as you may have witnessed with some of the creators who didn't start all of this journey without having the hangups that we are going through. They just found a way to overcome them. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story. So how I realized that I had the issues with finances, and how I feel so unsafe about charging money, making money, managing money. And that's because I grew up in a very poor part of Colombia, Cali, Colombia, in a very poor neighborhood with a lot of lack of resources, no money whatsoever for basic needs. I started working at a very young age. Um, I was raised by a single mom and my grandma, and I was feeling responsible for the well-being of my family. So that's why I started working since I was 12 or 13 years old, trying to help in the house. And somehow I ended up marrying somebody wealthy who used that power to control me. So my issues with money and the way that I feel about money started when I was very young, um, due to my childhood. And that is something that I've been ignoring for many, many years. I've been trying to, like a good Colombian, because that's something that they instill in you when you are very young, is that don't complain, just suck it up and look around you. You are blessed, because they can always find, your family can always find somebody else who's doing worse than you. And you can only imagine living in a poor neighborhood, then you will find other sad stories. So up until this point, I have been um, just ignoring that and focusing on other things. But that is something that really affected me and affected my perception about money, safety, creating wealth, how worthy I am of making wealth and building something meaningful just because of my childhood. Now if I translate those memories, and if I translate what happened to me when I was a child, or the conditions that I grew up in, I have constant anxiety about money, or about I have constant anxiety about being a provider. And what if I fail? What if I don't make the money that I'm supposed to be making? Um, then because the stress and the anxiety is so much, then I'm not seeking opportunities. I'm just wasting my time thinking about these things, obsessing about the numbers. I do a little bit of reckless spending. I'm not going to lie. I don't check my bank account very often. And when I do, I obsess over it, and then I let it go because it's too much. And then I go to Amazon and I order things for me and for my kids, and I don't think it twice. And I also have fear of rejection. Um, I choose to do any other things imaginable, but seeking money making opportunities. I get distracted with different things here in the house. I get distracted with making content with things that are fun for me, that are natural to me, but not when it comes to like really just seeking the opportunities to make money. And those go in cycle because sometimes, and you may find this yourself as well, sometimes you're like, okay, like I need to, get out of this cycle and I need to be brave and go and find the opportunities. And I've done that, but then it seems like my default is just to go back to this toxic patterns that are keeping me from growing and that I don't want in my life anymore. So, why are you telling me all those stories, Veronica? Like, okay, like you've been talking about your story like way for too long. Well, and it's because due to this, I got curious and I started doing my research, and that's the research that I am going to show you here in a minute. But if before we get into the research, if you have any questions, just feel free to drop the questions in the chat. I know that I started a little bit over all over the place when I started this episode, and it's because I'm nervous, like, and I'm anxious because I'm sharing something that is very personal to me, and it's something that I've been working on. So I apologize for that. But yes, so if you have any questions, make sure that you drop them in the comments, or just give me a thumbs up. Like if you're feeling it, if this is something that resonates with you, if this is something that you're going through. I want you to know that this is a safe place for you to share your opinions, for you to share the way that you feel. I want to build a community here with Content Sancocho that we can talk about any issues that affect content creators. And this is a place for you to share your stories as well. So make sure that you do that, and also once again make sure that you share this with another content creator. So doing my research, I found this very interesting article. It's called "The Link Between Adverse Childhood Experiences and Financial Security in Adulthood," and it was a study done by Cynthia Harter and John Harter. They are both are PhDs, and they're professors from I think at the Michigan University, Western Michigan University, and they talk about the hidden struggle with financial anxiety. And one of the things that they include in the study, or the conclusions of one of the conclusions of the study, was that many creators, entrepreneurs, and self-employed individuals quietly carry financial anxiety and self-doubt even when their work appears successful from the outside. So this isn't an issue that is an isolated issue, or that it doesn't occur very often. Is actually very common. These feelings aren't always linked to actual financial hardship. Rather, they can stem from deep internal narratives about self-worth, safety, and control. So sometimes like no amount of money can make you feel safe. And it's so uncomfortable like to be in your own skin when nothing can give you that sense of safety, when nothing can calm your nervous system down, your own fight or flight constantly. So how this often shows up as a fear of not earning enough money, chronic stress over irregular income, undervaluing one's work, feeling like a failure, even in periods of growth. Um, then it also mentions how adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, affect the brain. ACEs include abuse, neglect, parental mental illness, addiction, incarceration, or domestic violence, any form of household dysfunction that disrupts a child's emotional safety. Research in psychology and neuroscience has shown that these experiences literally shape brain development, especially in regions responsible for emotional regulation, decision making, stress response systems like the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. These changes can leave people more reactive to financial stress, more prone to fear based decision making, and less likely to take healthy risks in business or money matters. So, the trauma's lingering grip on our relationship with money. The article cites data from a study that provides evidence that childhood trauma is directly linked to greater financial distress in adulthood. This connection held true regardless of how much money the individual actually earned. The study highlights that emotional wounds from childhood can override logic or numbers. Even financial successful people with trauma histories can feel unsafe or insecure around money. Financial stress is this in this context is not only situational, it's deeply psychological. Early trauma doesn't stay in the past. It often follows us into adulthood and seeps into how we relate to money and work. People with unresolved childhood trauma may avoid money management or feel overwhelmed by financial planning, panic over income dips, even when they are temporarily manageable, struggle to raise rates, ask for payment, or pursue higher paying opportunities, equate financial struggle with personal failure. These behaviors aren't simply about poor budgeting, they're often the emotional residue of early experiences that taught us money wasn't safe, stable, or deserved. That's a lot of information. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, because when when the problem is so obvious, when the problem is something that you can quickly fix, or that something that you can take a medication for, or something that is external that you can physically fix about your living conditions, or something that you are aware of, then fixing it becomes easier. But when it comes to childhood trauma, things that you experience when you were a child that got imprinted in your subconscious, that now are affecting you and are keeping you from making the money that you want to make, from being the person, the creator that you want to be, then that is a hard pill to swallow. And that's something that deserves, or that is going to take a little bit longer and more work to uncover. But we're not out of luck. And I'm here to share hope and to give you hope, and just to know that we can do our work, and that we can do better. um do we have any comments, or do you have any opinions about this?
I mean, my opinions are they're just vast and
There's
crazy here. But yeah, we had a really sweet comment from Shabe. She said, it's okay, Veronica.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
And probably also appreciated. I think it's important to talk about these things, especially because it interferes with everything in life. And I like the angle that you're giving it with the money. So, yeah, we just need probably like the sound of an angry gato, and then we can get right back to it. Sometimes, you gotta take the positive approach to things. It's not about getting, I always love the analogy of a staircase. And maybe the very top of a staircase would be, overcoming whatever traumas you have. But one step at a time is
Hmm.
enough. Today it's like, but it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. And I feel like sometimes it comes in layers. It's kind of like peeling back an onion. And in your youth and in your 20s, sometimes it manifests itself as outrageous behavior, and it's cute.
Uh-huh.
But then as the years pile up, it becomes more obvious what's really going on.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And now you have little people depending on you. For those of you who are parents and they are watching you, that is something that I didn't mention, that If you are a parent, like, that you feel extra responsible and extra guilty for not addressing the issues that you know that you have to address, because you want to give the best version of yourself to your kids and to your spouse and to your community. So a little bit of guilt can creep in and make the whole mix even worse. So but another important thing that I found in this study is that higher ACE, we remember ACE is adverse childhood experiences, higher scores equals higher risk of financial insecurity. So the more childhood trauma you experience, the more of these adverse situations you went through when you were a child, the higher the score and the more trouble that you will have affording food or housing. And this is a survey that they did that compare income and income brackets and people who are on welfare and getting government help, and also comparing those numbers with the trauma that they went through when they were kids. So they also have ongoing stress about meeting basic needs, feeling of being on the edge financially, even when objectively stable. uh, Crucially, this wasn't limited to low income earners, people who are making money. Even the high income individuals with high ACE scores reported feeling financially insecure. The link between trauma and insecurity was strongest in lower income groups, but it remained consistent across income brackets. So it doesn't matter how much money you're making. So this data supports the idea that childhood adversity can have a lifelong financial consequences, not just through missed opportunities or setbacks, but through deep psychological imprintings. So the roots of financial self-doubt and scarcity thinking. Traumatic childhoods often disrupt the development of a stable, confident sense of self. Psychologists have found that children raised in, this is a word, chaotic or harmful environments often
You got it.
internalize.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
So they often internalize negative core beliefs, like, for example, I am not good enough, or I don't deserve any help. I can do it all. I can carry the weight of the world in my shoulders because I'm used to it. Things can fall apart at any moment. There's no feeling of safety. The whole thing can come crumble, and the impending doom. Always expecting the
Yeah, and you
worst.
can add to this too, like the more success that comes, the more that impending doom is creeping around the corner.
Yeah,
Just like
the
TikTok,
bigger the
TikTok.
fall.
Yes.
The beliefs become embedded in adult identity, especially when left unexamined. When it comes to money, they might manifest as chronic under earning, guilt, or discomfort around financial success, sabotaging progress or opportunities, difficulty trusting oneself to manage money wisely, and also something that I didn't include here, but is obsessing over bad news. And I do that. So it almost makes it so it's not my fault anymore that I'm coming short on certain areas of my life. Is the economy, is Trump, is the tariffs, is
It's Santa Claus.
in 2020, the whole thing. And then you seek for those examples of people who are complaining as well online, people who are doing worse than you. So, but you ignore is that there are other people who are thriving in these moments that, like this, you can find examples of both. Right now we're going through a lot of change here in the country, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that can make us uneasy. But we can also find examples of people who are still thriving, still making a lot of money, and they feel safe. And it's this feeling of something that I envy that was taken away from me. Oh my God, I'm going to cry in my live stream. Something that I envy that was taken away from me is the confidence to know that if everything is taken away tomorrow, that I will be able to build everything back up. And that's something that I really envy from people that have any zero attachments to material things or to money, that they don't base their worth or safety on what how much they have in their bank account or how much they have, that they have the confidence in themselves that they're going to be okay, and that was taken away from me. So the way that we think about money is often a mirror of the way that we were treated as children. That is the conclusion of this study. Thank you for staying here with me as I read this. Whether we neglect criticism, support, or instability. Whether with neglect, criticism, support, or instability. So, how does childhood trauma shape money mindsets and self worth? So, I'm going to share with you the right moment where I adopted my negative beliefs about money and how I started not feeling safe around money. And I was 10 years old, and my mom came from work, and she sat at the table and she started counting the little money that she had just earned at her work. And as she looked at the bill, she started crying. And this was something that I saw a lot. Just my mom just going through an enormous amount of stress over money. So it wasn't enough that she didn't make enough to pay what we owe to the neighborhood grocery store for the food that we bought on credit the month before. So she was too overwhelmed and too upset to go herself. So she handed me the money and told me to go negotiate with the owner of the grocery store. And I was 12. So I just, the best of my ability, I went and did that. So I also would watch her at nights, how she would count her fingers against the wall. Like every single night, I would fall asleep to that. Like she was trying to figure it out how she would cover the rent and groceries. And the stress eventually just made her so sick that she stopped working and made it my job to take care of her financially. And I was a child, but I became the provider. And to this day, I'm still the provider. So I'm completely, when I say this story, like I'm completely detached because I don't want to cry. But this is something, a very painful memory. And looking deep into what happened, then I uncovered that I felt like I wasn't worthy of support. I learned at a very young age that I was alone and that I was responsible for fixing the financial problems of my family. And I did the best I could to do so. Constant fear of scarcity, like seeing my mom so distraught and helpless, reinforce the deeply rooted belief that there's never enough money and that money could vanish at any time. And like, chronic anxiety is how I internalize my mother's stress as my own, and developing a nervous system that I develop a nervous system that's always on high alert around money, just because of this situation. And so that was my story. But I have more examples for you of people you may know. Um, so this is from an article published by Big Think, and that's what childhood money story is shaping your financial behaviors. This is the title of the article. And first we have, um, where's her name? Oh, wealth psychologist Kathleen Burns Kingsbury. She recalls that something that happened to her in childhood, and she's a well-known author in this topic, and she published this book called Breaking Money Silence. And she recalled this event that happened to her when she was a child, that her mom gave her money to go and buy milk, and she went to the store, came back and brought the milk, and she kept the change, and she was punished severely for this. And what this experience taught her is that that was not that money was not okay. That love money was something shameful, something that she was not supposed to do, and she had to work through this shame in order for her to become a successful entrepreneur. This Her story illustrates how easily messages, even subtle ones about money and worthiness, can calcified into what financial psychologists call money scripts, unconscious beliefs that drive our financial behavior. Research confirms that adverse childhood experiences can tangibly impair financial well being later on. Another powerful example is John Lee Dumas. You may be familiar with John Lee Dumas. He's a podcaster and entrepreneur. He's been around for a while in the podcast industry, very successful. And I found this article in entrepreneur.com, and the title of the article is How a Childhood Incident Created His Unhealthy Drive for Success. So, this is an article about citing some interview that he did, and he shares how when he was just a child, his dad was very upset. He was very not in a good mood during tax season. I can understand. But what I cannot understand, and I really just made me see John Lee Dumas through a different lens, is that he went to his dad. So imagine him as a child, and he goes to his dad because he wants a hug, or he wants to, hey, daddy, what are you doing? Or whatever he had in his little child mind. And his dad said, look at how much money you are costing me. And this sentence, it changed the trajectory of his life. This moment, he says, this moment imprinted a deep belief. I am a burden. He internalized the idea that his existence was financially stressful to his family. The trauma response that he showed is that he was determined to never be a burden again, and he developed a drive for complete financial independence. He earned a military scholarship for college, so his parents wouldn't have to pay for his college education, but he deployed to Iraq in his early 20s, resulting in PTSD. Then, after that, after the army, he cycled through high status, high income careers, law school, corporate finance, tech startups, real estate, sought validation and security through money, yet remained unfulfilled and anxious. And the turning point for him that he shared during this in this article is that he eventually recognized the root of the cause of this drive and this anxiety, and that it can all be traced back to not wanting to be a burden. He began to redefine success and healing the childhood wound, realized that money wasn't the real issue. The deeper pain was feeling unworthy of support. Then another person who has openly share her struggles with financial anxiety, trauma, and money is Leah Hormozy. And she shared her story in a deeply vulnerable conversation on the School of Greatness podcast not too long ago. I listened to that episode, and she shared, you know, everything from like how she was arrested and how she was emotionally unstable during her teen years and her early 20s. And she described the feeling of being like broke and anxious before building any financial stability. She realized that her anxiety and the feelings of being unworthy were rooted in unresolved trauma that she got when she was a child. Initially, doubted if she deserved anything, she deserved success or financial abundance. Despite all of her achievements, she still battles with this feeling. Another example of this is Louis House. Is that how you pronounce the last name?
Sounds right to me.
Um, Louis House, his story is also a very sad story. He shared um, he's the if you don't know Louis House, he's the host of the School of Greatness podcast, and he's a New York Times best-selling author. And in an interview, he revealed a little bit of what happened to him when he was a child. This interview is with Simon Sinek. It's a very emotional interview. Um, he spent years seeking external success in sports and business and accolades to feel worthy. And he described this as money trauma, his financial mindset deeply shaped by childhood abuse and low self worth. He realized that he was trying to self esteem, that he was tying self esteem to net worth, chasing money to fill a deep emotional void. Over the past 5 years, he has focused on practicing self love and healing, separating his identity from his income, how much money he makes, and building a healthier, more grounded relationship with money and success. His story is actually like even more tragic than what I wrote here. When he was 5 years old, he was sexually assaulted by the babysitter's teenage son, and he has talked about this event openly, but I can only imagine the pain and the work that you have to go through to overcome such a horrible experience. So, how does trauma manifest in entrepreneurship and the creator economy? This is something very interesting that I found, and that it says this article says that it's increasingly recognized that entrepreneurship and becoming a creator can sometimes be a trauma response. How can it be a trauma response becoming an entrepreneur and a creator? Well, let's keep reading. Many people are unconsciously driven to start businesses or or creative careers as a way to resolve or compensate for something from their past. And I can see why this would happen. Uh, I think even though we are terrified in some sense of being seen or um, making money and achieving success, we are attracted to it anyway. We want it, we crave it because we spend our childhoods not being seen or validated, or uh, it's almost like something was taken away from us. So it makes a lot of sense that you cannot fulfill that need of feeling seen or feeling like you fit in if you go to a 9 to 5, because it's the opposite. When you go to a 9 to 5, then you have to fit the mold. But when you become an entrepreneur, is like your own journey, and you're free to do whatever you want. But that comes also with responsibilities, and that comes also with this beautiful thing that you are forced to face your traumas and your demons in order for you to be successful, in order for you to help your business become successful. Because when you start, then your business is part of you, what and the content that you create is part of you. But over time it becomes this thing that is separate from you. It's almost like a child, and just the same way I feel responsible for my children and I want to give them the best, then you want to do the same for your business, and you start seeing that you're the culprit. The things are not happening fast enough is because, cariño, you have to do a lot of work on you. And you know, you every day you look at yourself in the mirror and you know that there's not no one else to blame. You can't blame your boss. You can't blame your obnoxious coworker. You can't blame that they're not paying you enough. You can't blame other people. It's you, because you are the leader. You become the leader, whether you like it or not. So in this article also says that business coach and therapist Nicole Lewis Kieber states that childhood trauma can be the origin story that creates the motivation to start a business or become an entrepreneur. Carrying emotional baggage into business, this is another topic that the article covers. Starting a company or launching a brand does not erase past trauma. You bring the trauma with you. Like it's interesting because you be like, oh, like I'm not gonna. I quit my 9 to 5, so I'm a new person. No, you're the same bastardo. You same.
I moved to another country, so now all my problems will go away.
No, it may be that, when you move to another country, it's like you let go of a lot of things, because I believe that some environments can be conducive to healing, and some others can be conducive to be more neurotic and focus on the things that don't matter, i.e., this country. But I love this country. Oh my God.
Careful, careful. They're coming for you.
It was not even funny. Instead of entrepreneurship often amplifies, instead, entrepreneurship often amplifies personal patterns, especially unresolved emotional wounds. We bring our baggage into our work, into our work lives, and without awareness, it can deeply affect how we lead and operate our business.
I mean, it affects everything. And I think that the funnest place that we were able to experience this ourselves, now that it's been 7 years of the ups and downs and the being essentially forced to deal with this stuff in order to become the role that you have to become in order for the business to grow, is the hiring. So if you don't think you've brought baggage, that you have baggage, and you look at the people that you decide to hire, one opportunity that you get when you are starting your own business is you do have the opportunity to choose who you bring onto your team, which is one of the real benefits. And yet you still wind up working with some real malparidos. Badly born is how that's translated. And I really love how that's translated, because it's not really that offensive in English when you translate it badly born, like you were badly born. But
It means that you were born with a defect.
really? Oh man, maybe that is bad. I thought it was less than a defect. I thought it was more of like an evil. I don't know. Anyway, but what I'm saying is we've had a lot of those, a lot of bad hires, a lot of misdirected, misunderstood, impulsive thinking. When the whole world is crashing down because your flight or fight is constantly on, your decision-making process isn't as good, and you don't attract the right employees to your team.
Yes.
And the first few people that we hired, we brought on and we said, "Hey, fix our mess." And they're like, "But I'm a mess too." And so it was just this fun dance of us throwing spaghetti at each other, essentially. But
things have changed dramatically here and in our business since we started to do our work, and since we started to step into what we've been called to do.
Yeah, it reminds Entrepreneurship 2.0, I think is what it might be called. It was recommended by Reed Hastings, the former CEO of Netflix. He's like, every business owner has to read the first 86 pages. And in that, it was all about becoming the 2.0 version of yourself. And it talked about how Steve Jobs was just a mess when he was first hired. But the guy that they hired back was a different Steve Jobs. It was Steve Jobs 2.0. He had done a lot of work when he came back and took Apple to the heights that he took it to. It's about iterative improvements. It's about marginal improvements. You don't just have to overcome your trauma all at once. You don't have to wait until you overcome all of your traumas before you start making money.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also a classic example of that too. A lot of revenue despite the trauma. It's
Mm-hmm.
about showing up and moving forward with it as you work on it. That's the only choice you have. And it's kind of a beautiful relationship actually, because entrepreneurship more than any other endeavor forces a person into that type of healing, which is really amazing. And it's why I
Mm-hmm.
would recommend anyone to hop into these pursuits.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you asked for my commentary, so
I agree. I like it. Another article I found written by Kelly Campbell. She shares her story as being a leader and a CEO, and how experiences that she had when she was a child and trauma that she went through um, forced her to, or was conducive to her not to be the best leader and CEO. And she identified like some trauma driven patterns in her career and in her business, the perfectionism or the over control, the fear of failure, the difficulty delegating, that her wanting to be involved in every single detail and therefore not being a very good leader or a very good boss. You know, when you are a leader, you have to confront who you are as a leader, and sometimes is you don't have the best qualities, and you have to work on that, because if you don't, then how are you going to move your business forward, and how are you going to build a team? So she encountered this. Also, workaholism. She had an addiction to achieving and to avoid pain, and that would lead to burnout and more pain and exhaustion. She had anxious attachment and people pleasing, fear of abandonment, blur
Brr.
boundaries, blur boundaries with her team members, and fear that everything was going to be swept away, everything that she had worked so hard for, her business, her financial stability, everything that will be that will be taken away, and she would have nightmares. She would wake up in the middle of the night with this anxiety in her chest that this was going to happen. Of course, this is, not a life to live. And a lot of scarcity mindset, believe that success is not sustainable and that she didn't deserve it. So she went through, she had to do some deep work in healing her inner child and her trauma in order for her to step up to the role of a leader that people needed from her. So, but trauma can also fuel and drive creativity, resilience, and innovation. There are plenty of examples out there of people who are wildly successful, and they went through situations that were horrible in their childhood. An example of that is, one of them is Elon Musk, and now how he was abused by his dad or something along those lines. I learned in one of the many books that I have read. Um, but Elon is not very liked lately.
Yeah, I mean, we're not
But
supposed to talk about the
we don't
Elon
get
man.
into the political. But can we all agree that he have achieved some very impressive things on his lifetime?
Hmm.
And it's because, his childhood trauma. So trauma may spark success as well, but healing is essential to sustain it. What got you here won't necessarily keep you here. So then that's why sometimes you see a lot of startups and founders that they are voluntarily or involuntarily removed from the companies just because they're not good for the business anymore. So you have to heal your childhood trauma. It's advisable.
There's kind of no
So how
way.
do we
There's
heal?
no way around it.
So how do we heal?
I think this is the exciting part. Perhaps
This is the
there should have been maybe a more uplifting tone with the whole live stream here and the whole episode, because there's never been a time where it's more possible to heal, and
yes.
where it's also more accessible, where it's more where we're more aware of it, where it's talked about, the information that's available, as well as the assistance you could find, the affordability of it, and the techniques of it. I mean, it's amazing. So
Mhm.
very positive situation, because once you do start healing, it isn't just the business and the money that starts rolling in and the comfort of the money in your checking account. You're not feeling like the whole world's going to fall apart, but also you extract more joy out of life when those parts of your brain start to turn on a little bit more. The prefrontal cortex and what have you. You can actually be more present, that you aren't as impulsive. That doom and gloom goes away. You can find joy in more subtle things, and you can also get more creative and make more of an impact with your work. I mean, it's incredible, and it's available to all of us, this amazing healing journey. And then what winds up happening is your past is something that you also may not want to even talk about because of the feeling of shame that surrounds it. There's this feeling of, well, I don't want to be an outcast to begin with. I mean, you already have those feelings. So talking about and accepting it, or making it a part of your identity, those first couple steps you have to do towards dealing with it, that that also is just, it's a really exciting thing. I didn't want
Mhm.
to interrupt you too much, but
Hmm.
I just think it's a very a beautiful time to be alive for this very reason.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you for that. That is so true. The times that we are living right now, the resources that we have access to that our parents didn't have access to, the podcast, AI, all of the information that's out there, it's available to us to get curious and begin our healing journey. And just the fact that you are either watching or listening to this live stream, that maybe this is, uh, getting getting you to a point where you start looking at your life and seeing some of the patterns and seeing some of the things that are holding you back when it comes to money, making more money, charging more money, reaching out to that sponsor, growing your business, that are deeply seated in you that need to be addressed. So the first step is to acknowledge that there's something there, and get curious and maybe write about it, or just do a voice memo about it, because the more you externalize it, and the more you get to articulate what's happening in you, the more you can get to answers, and can get to um, be guided through your journey of what to do for you in order to heal. It can be that you seek the help of a therapist if you believe in talk therapy. It can be that you go back to church if you I'm a believer in God and Jesus and all that. Can be like you start your spiritual journey, you get into Joe Dispenza, and then you want to get curious about his meditations and his work. Also, the physical component, yoga, breath work, listening to a podcast, or whatever it is that is going to get you on the path of healing. But you have made the first step by acknowledging that something needs to change, that something's got to give. And I already, share all this. And just to wrap up, I wrote something for you, and so I have these two photos. One on the picture on the left is me at 13 years old, and the picture on the right was me. It's a thumbnail that we made for a project that I was hired for, and it was my first big contract that I negotiated, and that I was very nervous about, and that I couldn't believe that somebody would pay me that much money for doing something that I love. And, that 13-year-old me would have never dreamed to get that kind of money, or she would have never dreamed that she would be, um, able to buy things and to be wealthy. So, what's to take away from all this? And I'm going to read this to you, and I'm going to read this to myself. This is kind of like our takeaway and our commitment to ourselves. And I want you to take this to heart. Um, Financial anxiety isn't just about money; it's about memory. It's about wiring. It's about stories we learned before we even knew we were learning them. If you grow up with trauma, with scarcity, with pressure to prove yourself, you might still be operating from those old survival patterns. Even now, even with success, that anxious loop you feel around money, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're human and you've been carrying too much for too long. So, the good news is that we're going to break those patterns. We're going to make a lot of money as creators. We are going to not be scared to raise our rates. We're not going to be scared to making the phone call. We're not going to be scared to sending the email to seek those opportunities and to make it feel good when we get paid, to make it feel good when we put our finances in order, when we take control of our finances, when we look at our bank account, when we do our bookkeeping, when we spend the majority of our time seeking for those opportunities that will pay us well for the clients, for to sell more of our courses, to sell more of our coaching programs, to uh, whatever it is, the way that you are making money online. And if you're not making money yet, this is your wake up call. This is your opportunity for you to really internalize and really think about how you can start overcoming those issues and start recognizing that what you bring to the table is very valuable, and then there's nothing wrong with you charging for what you're worth, or charging for your talents, for the time that you invest in projects that you do for your clients, for the time that you invest in making videos for sponsors. If you are charging too little, if you're not charging any money, if you're giving yourself for free, the money is coming from other places anyway, because you have to pay your bills. So it may be money that you're taking from other sources that can be used for your kids, that can be invested in their future. So think about all of those things. You are worthy of all of the wealth in the world. You are worthy of all of the happiness and joy. You are worthy of having a regulated nervous system. You are worthy of having peace in your life. You are worthy of help. You don't have to do this alone. And I hope I get to see you next Friday here at 5 p.m. in Content Sancocho.
Please.
Please
You
get
have
it
me
together.
crying over here. The picture of you as a teenager, lost it. Damn it. I haven't been as vocal because I've been sniffling up over here.
Oh,
But good thing I've got the mute button, you know?
I love you. You are amazing. Just keep at it. And see you next Friday. Bye.